What does the city do about illegal dumping?
A couple things that we do on that. We do have a group of code enforcement officers that will go out, and if they find an illegal dump site, they will contact the folks that have dumped that illegally, and they normally have to clean that up, or they end up having to go to court. We do run into ourselves a little bit. If we find an illegal dump site that is currently ongoing, we try to figure out who it was coming from. Those are some of the methods that we use to be able to do that. The other one is also we have an illegal dumping hotline that people can see and call a number to be able to report a strange activity going on where people are dumping something, unfortunately, on the side of a road or in someone's backyard where they think someone's not looking.
And when you say an illegal dump site in the city of Gainesville and also in Hall County, because certainly our water system serves a large part of Hall County, what are you talking about? What typically would you see at one of these sites?
Right. Unfortunately, we see household garbage. We also see building materials. When someone is going to do in renovation or construction, they're pulling up carpet. A lot of times those illegal dump sites become those type of things. Household stuff, construction debris, those kind of things is what we find in illegal dump site. We occasionally do find, unfortunately, oil drums or oil cans where people have just not properly disposed of things.
And then it rains and all that washes off of those items.
Exactly. I mean, you've got a rainfall issue and you got an aesthetic issue too. I mean, let's face it, we have a lot of people, Lake Lanier today is full like it is, so people are coming up here to be able to enjoy recreation. People come by, it leaves a very negative connotation on our community of how we treat the environment. So you've got a leaching process when water mixes with it, and also you got an aesthetic issue that we need to worry about.
And one of the problems in the fall, we're blessed to have so many trees in our community, but I so often will see where the leaves have actually are so thick and have washed down where they've actually blocked the drains. How big of a problem is yard debris?
Can be a huge issue in that way. If our storm drain system, the reason the system was put in the first place is as a public issue, is to make sure that water's not staying on that road. So we don't have any flooding issues, which causes car accidents and those kind of things. So that water wants to be diverted off of that road as quick as possible through that storm drain system. If we've got storm drains that are clogged full of grass clippings or leaf debris like you were talking about a minute ago, that does not allow that water to be able to flow continuously through that storm drain system. And it backs up and it starts to block it up, and then we have an issue with water standing on the road. Then we run into car accidents and those kind of things. So it's very important for those to stay open.
Why aren't there some kind of screens or something over those?
Right. There are some preliminary studies out there where they're looking to put screens and those kind of things, filters, to be able to keep those debris and all that from going in that drain system. But the biggest problem with them right now is the cost of them. The cost of having someone actually go out and maintenance and check all of that storm drain system to make sure there's not a flooding issue would be very difficult to do. Now, coming out of the drought like we just did, probably pretty easy to do. But we've been lucky enough to get so much rain as we have lately. That would be a full-scale, a lot of work, very labor-intensive job. So it's just not feasible right now to have those filters on all the storm drains that would be in the Gainesville, Hall County area.
Do we ever clean those drains out? Do we have to go in and clean them out?
They do. They come through, and our Public Works group would be responsible for cleaning out those drains and removing those type of things to keep water flowing so it's not impeded. So we do have groups that do that.
I would also like to mention, we talk about the leaves and the grass debris in our Public Works Department. In the fall, usually starts in October and goes through, I believe, early February. This is one of the reasons that we tell everyone to, when you're piling your leaves and raking your leaves, rake them up behind the curb.
That's right.
So they're on the grass, and then we live in such a great area where they just come by and use a machine to pick that up. And then in this time of year, if you're raking leaves, or I've had a lot of grass clippings, this is the time for grass clippings, you need to bag that stuff, and if you'll put it on the curb, we'll pick it up. But whatever is raked into the road goes right into the system.
That's right, and we just sat through with a couple of folks with Public Works on that. When you pile that debris up, make sure you don't pile it on top of a fire hydrant. Make sure you don't pile it on top of an electrical box.
Another good point.
Make sure you don't put things inside of that debris. So when they pick that up, that they're not crushing glass or things like that too. So, but yeah, I mean, two important tips is it needs to be piled properly where it is and what needs to be there. And the most important part, it doesn't need to be put into the road.
Well, certainly the water looks beautiful as we can see it right here today, and we can't say enough about how glad we are to have had the rain we've had in the last several months. Just before the break, you were about to talk to me about a storm drain channel. Explain to me, first of all, what that is.
Right, and most people recognize our storm drains as that hole in the side of the curb where the water goes. After that water goes in, it goes into a pipe. Most of our pipes either go directly into a stream as a piped outfall, but some of them end up going into what we call a ditch. So a ditch may have rock in the bottom of it, or a little bit of sediment or silt or sand from over time, and then it runs back into one of our streams. So that's our channel that we call. We often refer to that as a channel.
And why can't we put, again, some type of net or barrier at the end of that?
Right, and that goes back to the barrier issue that we had before about expense. The expense and the cost and the maintenance. Some of our outfalls are several hundred yards within wooded areas. In very rural or remote areas. So trying to have someone out there to be able to go by and clean those things out are very difficult to be able to do. So the expense is one, the cost is another, and it just be really hard to be able to do something like that.
How much water actually passes through the storm drain system?
It kind of depends. It depends on the amount of rain event that we get. If we get some major heavy rains like we have lately, you know, there's a lot of water with a lot of flow. We often tell people in terms of caution things that those drains, at the end of those drains, or particularly with our streams, if there's a lot of rain and the water levels are up, you don't want to be anywhere near that water because there's a lot of harm that can come in there because water has a lot of flow, has a lot of velocity, and unfortunately too, when things get dumped to the drain, they become almost missiles or also darts that could really hurt somebody if you're not careful. So depending on the amount of water, how much we get, depends how much comes down through that storm drain system.